Upon checking with the Almighty, Anish Giri came to the conclusion that actually right now he's being guided to take on c3. When I say the Almighty, in chess, as a chess player, we're referring to Stockfish 16 or Leela or Alpha Zero. That's the Almighty in chess. Okay, I'm going to look now at the win-hour E takes D5 variation. I'm using the Chessable course of Anish Giri, which he himself uses the neural engine to finding the best continuations when he writes his courses, and then he offers them to the public, which is very good. So because I decided to get a little bit more rigorous on this, I am going to present to you guys now the French and win-hour, or how do I put it more originally, Vinava. Correct me, please. I need some Polish players to actually guide me to the correct pronunciations here. Apologies, I haven't spoken with the Polish person recently, asking them. So, all right, cool. So let's go with E4, right? And oops, E4 and E6. Okay, D4, right? Okay, so we're going to focus on D4, obviously, and D5 now. Knight C3. So that's the Bishop B4, and that's the Vinava variation. And that's a pin, and that means that the pawn on E4 is kind of hanging because there's no defender for that guy, so you can't allow that to happen. You just cannot. Now normally white goes with E5, which is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that one, but in this particular variation we're not going to look at E5. We're going to look at E takes D5. Okay, we're going to look at this one, which I gotta say, from a French defense player's perspective, it's like a relief, because suddenly the bishop can play. Oh, look at this guy, happy guy here, the bishop on c8, right? I mean, looks like in this variation, E takes d5, you kind of like giving a chance to that bishop on c8 to come to life. My personal take. So bishop d3, all right, developing, nothing bad with this. Knight to f6. And Anish said that Caruana played it a3 in this position here. He was concerned, and then he checked with the Almighty, Stockfish 16, that is. And then he got relaxed because he was guided into a perfect sequence. Bishop takes c3, b c3, and castles. Okay, that's cool. Okay, nice one. And knight to e2. Now that's a moment here. Anish said that Nepo played Jan Nepomniachtchi, that is. We call him Nepo in chess, in the chess world. Nepo here played at some point rook to e8 with the idea knight e4 and bishop f5 type of setup this particular moment right now. But he thinks it's a bit slow. Anish says it might be a bit slow, and he proposes to play something that which actually gives a purpose to the bishop on c8. So now he says, now is the moment. You go bishop g4. You're pinning the knight with tempo. So you developed with tempo. Now the knight is being pinned, and now white has to commit. White has to commit and do something with those pawns. You know, you either move away from the pin or you do f3, okay, which is not a bad move at all. So that hits the bishop, which has got to move. Bishop to h5, g4, further pressing, and bishop to g6. And now if you really, really want to be a bad boy here, you go h4 because you want to play h5. Okay, so h5 to actually stop this from happening. And now you don't really want to take here because that's a mess. Actually, don't do that, because if you do this, you're actually going to lose. So you are absolutely recommended here to harass the knight on f6 with g5. The knight now has to go. It goes on e8, right? So you go a little bit backwards. No worry, you're not going to end up in a bad position playing this variation in French. You're not going to end up in a worse position. It's actually very interesting. And we're going to reach a point where actually you are going to accept a fork of a queen and rook, because you're going to have a very interesting middle game tactics at hand. Let me just get you there. So now king f2. Of course. White can go knight f4 here. It's not a problem. That's a good move. If you're going to check with the engines, they're going to give you knight f4 and king f2. King f2 here because you would just want to get some rooks on the e file and stuff, so you don't want to keep the king here. It's like as you have castled, okay, so something like that. So king to f2, now allowing the circulation of the rook freely, or the queen, or stuff like that. So knight to c6, developing and ready to come into the help of the g6 squares after knight f4, now hitting twice here on g6. Knight to e7 now, and now here comes the very, very, very interesting moment here. Knight takes to the bishop d3, takes on g6, and now you might say, yes, of course, I'm going to take now knight e7 takes on g6, right? No, you don't. So this is the golden moment now in this variation that Anish Giri points out. To this particular moment in the game's evolution, you are not going to take with the knight. That's not good. It's bad. What is good here to play is actually pawn takes, offering white, the knight on f4, the move knight e6, which forks queen and rook. And now we know you're not going to lose the rook, because you lose the rook, you're not going to give them the queen. So you're going to save the queen. Okay, now they're going to take the rook, of course. You just sacked an exchange. King to f8. And now bishop to f4. Quick development. One minor piece versus two knights. Those two knights are real troublemakers. And after knight from e8 comes on d6 to actually relaunch himself here, the best for white is actually to remove that knight ASAP. Knights are absolutely major troublemakers. Queen to d6. And the position is equal, believe it or not. We came to a point after 19 moves in this French variation, Vinava, e takes d5, main line. We came to a point where it's equal all of a sudden. Well, not all of a sudden. It's been like 19 moves until now, so it's not all of a sudden. But the fact white is having two white rooks here, it's not more powerful than this guy, which actually will be playing on f5, and you can't stop this. And why is this equal? I mean, you know, white has two rooks, right, you would say. But actually, knight f5 combined with queen to g3, it's quite something you need to pay attention to. You really have to be careful about this. And the knight on f5, what a heck of an outpost. I mean, this is what we call an ideal outpost. And look how this knight placed on f5 offers more than enough tactical compensation to the fact that actually white has two rooks and you got just one. But the knight colluding with the queen, as we pointed out, the g3 possible checks, knight covering all those squares. I mean, knight on f5 will be hitting this, e3, g3, and h4. You got to be very careful about that knight playing. And very interesting. So Anish Giri is very excited about the current position in this variation. So you don't have to believe me. I mean, you may believe a super grandmaster, although my purpose is never to tell you anything which is not according to the objective truth, but I might be wrong. That is why I'm using the argument of the authority, which is Anish Giri in this case, and he's very happy with the current scenario for black now in this position. Again, knight f5, queen g3 ideas, and actually it's quite a tactical advantageous stuff here for black. And white, what can white do? I mean, if you move this guy, you're going to be dropping a3. If you go for the b7, that's, I mean, you know, just saying. There are some weaknesses here. a3 is a weakness, c3 is an isolated guy weakness, double pawns on the c, isolated guy on f, and you've got a pawn on h4 constantly attacked by the knight on f5, soon to be moving towards 2. So that's interesting. That's a very cool one. So those of you that are French defense lovers, that might be appealing to your taste, guys. Thanks for watching this one. We'll be coming next with another line, another chapter from the Chessable course, Anish Giri, on the French defense. I'll just try to explain more stuff. He already did the course, but I'm actually trying to add more information for you, my friends. And maybe we can engage into some feedback and we change ideas. Very seriously, have a look at this line. Vinava, e takes d5 and stuff. Tell me your super honest thoughts, and let's see what we can provide here as a better alternative, or if you got any, if you played something in this particular variation, copy paste the link, and I'll be more than happy to analyze your stuff. Thanks very much, guys, and see you sooner than you think.